What is up, my little pretties? It's your mistress, the Shadowline here. So today, I'm gonna be doing something a little different, and this is the kind of discussion video that I've been wanting to make for a while now. And today, I'm going to be doing kind of like tips on on being a narrator for creepypastas, horror stories, fan fictions, and other stuff. So I actually think that this is actually one of these videos that I've been wanting to make for a very long time. I do believe Shadow Reader has done something like this, back on his old channel before it got terminated. But I can't remember what exactly it was. But if you guys want to know, just let me know. If you know what it was, just leave me a comment in the comments below. Now, okay. Now today I'm going to be explaining, there's a lot of, narrators that narrate, creepypastas, fanfictions, funny pastas or troll pastas, horror stories, and etc. Now, you take a look at, me, Skyrunner, the Shadow Reader, Bailey Maloney. Take a look at, Mr. Haunted is another example. Take a look at all horror narrators, creepypasta narrators, fanfiction readers, and other these people. The biggest ones that have done, these for a long time. I myself personally have done them, since 2018, well, late 2018, when I started, saying, hey, I want to be like Shadow Reader, kind of like that. However, though, I'm going to be explaining right now that there are some things that you guys should do as narrators, and what you shouldn't do. Now, with that said, I'm going to be explaining it right now. So, what I am going to say right now is if you're going to narrate a creepypasta, fanfiction, or whatever, you need to follow these tips. Now, although there are other videos kind of similar to this, but if you want to see what my perspective is, that's fine. You can take a look at them. Now, if you click on this video, then you're in luck. Mainly, I'm going to say right now that if you're going to be if you're planning to be a narrator for any of these things that I listed, please follow this video. But also, you can go watch other videos because I'm going to basically, give you guys, tips and stuff on what you should do and what you shouldn't do when it comes to being a narrator. Now, first of all, let's take a look at some YouTubers. Now, the Shadow Reader has done reviews and rants when it comes to him, reviewing creepypastas and that. I know sometimes he does have a couple of videos that he did rants on, especially on his old channel. Well, his old channel before it got terminated, which we all know what happened to Shadow Reader. For most of you guys who don't know, I think Shadow Reader's got a video, explaining what happened to his old channel. But yeah, but with that being said, let's just say right now that the Shadow Reader has done some rants in the past. And I understand, why he does them. He does, reviews is because he wants to help all of us narrators and even creepypasta writers to get better at these pastas. Although we have made some mistakes in the past, but we learn from them and we take it as a consideration and continue to do what we normally would do. However, there's lots of things that you could do as narrators, and there's also things that you shouldn't do as narrators. Now I'm going to go for what you should do as narrators. If you're going to start off by being a creepypasta narrator, find a creepypasta that you think you enjoy. Whatever it be from anyone, from like wikis or from one of your stories. If you want to go ahead and, do that, you're more than welcome to do that. And before you read it, I highly recommend you practice reading the story, especially if you stutter. Now, I will be talking about that later on. But, if you're going to read a pasta that you really like, I would consider, reading it in your head a few times. That way you would understand, the pasta, of what you should say. And, some people even record their own voice while they're narrating the story, like I did, well, on my old channel. Well, this is my channel. And Shadow Reader has done that. I'm sure Skyrunner has also done that as well. However, there are some things you shouldn't do which I will be explaining. Now, finding the story that you like and the genre of the story, like it could be horror, creepypasta, funny pasta, fanfictions, whatever you guys' tastes are like. Like if you're into horror, like Mr. Haunted and the Shadow Reader, take a consideration of looking at their videos and kind of having a kind of like get an idea of what's been inspiring you to be a YouTuber. There are many reasons why I've been inspired to be a YouTuber. Now, that's actually going to be another video for another day, which I will do another discussion video on why I decided to do YouTube. And there are reasons for that, but it would take a little too long for me to, explain it. But, that's going to be for another video. And if you're going to do, horror stories, take a look at Mr. Haunted's videos, for example, and, look at them and figure, if I get inspired by this certain creepypasta, the narrator, or horror narrator, or even narrators that read any genre stories, take a inspiration from these users and, kind of explore when it comes to doing your channel. Like for me, I've done creepypastas, but then I decided to do some funny pastas. Now, some funny pastas were actually pretty good. However, there are some that are not that great. And, not just that, we all have done some stuff. Now, we're just going to say right now that, these creepypasta narrators have done lots of different stuff. Now, there are some things though. If you're going to look for a certain story, you should look on the internet on what story you want to do and think of how you want to narrate it. Pick a style of narration what you want to do. If you want to do a review on the story, you can do that too, but be sure you have the author's permission. If it's from like Wattpad or something, be sure you have your permission, or even if it's from a fan of yours, be sure they have your permission and that they will understand you and stuff like that. Now, let's get on with more stuff. Now, if you're going to be doing, a rant, kind of, like Shadow Reader. Shadow Reader did rants like on, Creepypasta Fail series. That is understandable for, if you those who want to do that, that's your opinion. But I'm going to be honest right now. Before I go any further, I'm going to say right now that, I've been thinking about whatever when I get my new laptop and, make more videos. I think what I'm going to do is not rant as crazy as I used to do. Because, I used to rant like crazy. Just like Shadow Reader. But looking back on it, I feel that it's not helping anybody, get better at them with the writing and stuff like that. Looking back at them, I'm shaking my head at them. Because even though I had fun doing them, I still think that, it's not, helping anybody with their, with their writing, So I understand some people do make mistakes. And even if it's a story that I don't like, I feel that it's not really working that great. And, I'm going to be honest. I'm going to be completely honest with you people. If you're going to write a story, you got to, think of what you want to do. You want to think about what you want to do when it comes to writing these stories because you want to expand your mind. I know Skyrunner has been, encouraging me to do that. And I understand what he's coming from. And I do understand. But sometimes with my autism, I do tend to repeat things that have been done over and over and over again. Now, I do try to avoid that. But for some reason, I keep doing it. And, that's the problem. It's mainly because of my autism. And, I'm trying to expand my mind as best I can. And, sometimes I do feel bad, or at least I feel, down by that. But I do understand where they're coming from in many ways and I can count. For people who can't handle it that well, like if you have a disability like me because I have autism, I do understand that. And remember people, when I did the rants in the past, I'm not trying to be, rude or anything. I'm actually trying to, explain it better. But, and as for my older videos that you people are asking, can you re-upload your rants? The answer is going to be no because I will be reading all the stories I've done. But what I am going to be doing is, if it's going to be, when I review a story, I am not going to be yelling and screaming like I normally do. I'm going to actually be calm about the story. If I don't like the story, I would explain, what was wrong with it, and, what the author could have done to make it better. Authors like me and Shadow Reader and Skyrunner, we try to, help people, what they can do to make their stories better. Now, grammar sometimes can be a problem. I'm not that great at grammar. But, I do try my best. And, certain sites like Google Docs and that can really help you with the issues like, well, spelling errors and grammar errors and that, and stuff like that. There's a lot of, narrators that can do that. Now, I'm going to be honest too. This is going to go for those, most of us narrators have written our own stories. I've written my own stories, and same with Skyrunner and Shadow Reader. I've narrated some of Skyrunner's stories. Well, I think it's the Barney's diarrhea story. Now, I am planning to read The Luan Goes Too Far when he's done narrating that, so then when it's finished, I can have a narrate at that, because I heard that story's good. But, however, I'm going to explain right now. If you're going to do a review on a chapter, the things you should do is kind of be honest with your opinion. Now, don't say, oh, agree with me on this. Agree with me that's bad. Agree with me that's good. Don't do that. If you force somebody to, like or dislike a certain story, you can't do that, because they might like the story. If they like it and you don't, that's okay. And if they don't like it because you like it, that's okay too. But you can't force, all of your subs to like the certain story someone sent you or dislike them. You can't do that. That's something you should never do when it comes to narrating. However, whatever it be a fanfiction or creepypasta or whatever, if you don't like the story, or if you do like it, explain what your thoughts are on it. And, if there are problems with the story, calmly explain to them, what was wrong with it, what could have been done to fix it, and, kind of explain to them why you don't think that it's necessary in that. Now, I have done a couple of, stories that are not great at the past, which, I think it was the Aladdin Lost Episode Pasta. I ended up deleting that off of, the Google Docs, because, I liked it, back when I got my channel started. Skyrunner liked it. But after Shadow Reader, I'm going to be honest. After Shadow Reader narrated that story, it was when I was at the movies to see It Chapter 2. I did not get that notification till I got back from the movies. And I watched the video, and he kind of raged at it. I didn't watch the full of it, but someone told me that it had many flaws. And I actually took a look at it again, and I could tell that, the story was not good. And, Skyrunner changed his opinion about it, and he agreed with Shadow Reader. Now, does that make me feel sad? Well, kind of. Well, it kind of brings me down, my motivation for that. It does bring me down on motivation on writing stories. I had to, go on hiatus on a certain, creepypasta or something, or if I'm writing, stories like that, I do end up deciding to go on hiatus for a little while, but then I end up finding some motivation to get back to it. And, after I saw that Aladdin creepypasta Shadow Reader ranting on, I only watched it once, but I never touched it again, because, every time I look at that, I regret writing that story. And, that's something, if you're going to narrate stories, and if you see a story that you narrated and it's not great, and someone else narrates it and their opinions are different, the things you shouldn't do is copy the same mistakes that you've done before. Repetitive stuff, that's something you should try to avoid doing when it comes to writing your own stories. Even if you read your own stories and they're repetitive and you send it to someone else so they can narrate it, try to avoid, using the same thing or same concept that's been used over and over again. If you're going to use something that is not unavoidable, make it something a little different that is completely original. Just like with creepypasta cliches. Sometimes there are cliches in, fan fictions and stuff, for example, in Goshia Lost Episode Wiki, I don't really go on that site too much anymore because there are not great stories out there. There are stories that have been ripped off from other good ones. And I did take a look at them the other day, and there's some new stories that the grammar is more readable, but it's still not that great. And if you're gonna use if you're gonna use a cliche when you're writing your own fan fictions or creepypastas, try to make something that is a little more original. When it comes to if you're gonna use a cliche and it's unavoidable, make something that is completely original and make it work somehow. If you just flap it on there like you don't care, it's not gonna work. And if you notice cliches or anything wrong with the story that you're narrating, kind of point them out. If you have to write them down on a notepad or something about what was wrong with the story, do that. But what you shouldn't do is copy the same thing that other people have done. Try to do that if you can. And we all make mistakes. Now, about the Wizard of Oz Deep Web creepypasta, that was the same thing that Skyrunner read, and he did not like it. Now, I understand Skyrunner's opinion on why he didn't like it. I'm not sounding rude, basically. But I ended up deciding to take a hiatus from creepypastas for a while, from writing them. Because, that was supposed to be a good creepypasta. But even though Skyrunner didn't like it and gave it a 0 out of 10, of course, that did bring my self-esteem, my motivation to write them, down. And, I understand, he pointed out the things that was wrong with the story. And, after I looked at that review, I ended up not touching that video again. And I don't think I am going to. Maybe in 10 years from now, maybe I might consider checking it out in 10 years because you never know. Maybe in 10 years, maybe I might do a remake of that story, or maybe I'll do something even better. But here's the thing. When it comes to, giving some criticism, when it comes to, giving criticism of the story to author, you gotta be honest. Be honest with your opinion. Even if it's a rant, be honest with your opinion on what you don't like about it. However, try to avoid yelling and screaming if you can. Now, if it's unavoidable, explain your reasons why you are unavoidable enough to avoid, yelling and screaming. Because if you just sit there and yell and scream for no reason, people are not gonna, get more motivated anymore to write their stories. They're just gonna quit, and that's about it, Sometimes when I made my mistakes on writing my stories, one of them being, the Aladdin pasta that I deleted that off of my Google Docs because it was garbage. But, I actually learned from them. I actually learned from the mistakes that I did. And, the things that you should do if you're a creepypasta narrator, even though creepypasta narrators have made mistakes, learn from your mistakes if you made a mistake as a creepypasta narrator. If you narrate a creepypasta and you start ranting like crazy, learn from why you did that and learn from what you should do the next time if you're going to read another story and what you shouldn't do. Because if you keep doing the same thing you're doing, I feel that if you're going to do, yelling and screaming, it's not going to be helping as much as you could. If you're going to do a rant, you got to, be honest with the person ahead of time saying, hey, I actually did a rant because I did not like it, or it's not a positive review. Kind of explain to the author ahead of time before you post a review of it on YouTube. If I'm going to write a story if I'm going to narrate a story that someone wrote for me and I don't like it, I'm going to explain to them, the review is not positive, or if I like the story, I said the review is positive. Well, the positive review and you like the story, you don't really need to do that. But if you're going to, review or rant on a story that you did not like, let the author know ahead of time just so they can understand and, just so they don't feel down about it. Although I do feel down about it sometimes, but I actually, try to, do a little better when it comes to that. Now, about the Muppets Wizard of Oz creepypasta I did, I am thinking about maybe deleting it because, I just didn't like it. After looking at it again, I kind of understand why I understand why Skyrunner did not like it. And I'm probably going to have to end up deleting it. Mainly because, every time I look at it, I get, bad motivation when it comes to it. It kind of makes me not want to narrate stories not narrate, but kind of not want to write stories anymore. Some people have, used to have motivation for writing stories, but they end up not doing that anymore because either the criticism was not as good as they were hoping, or people, just don't care or anything like that. That's kind of why some people really don't care and they just give up entirely, which I can understand why some people have, stopped writing or fanfictions is because of that. But just taking in consideration that, I've been down that path. There were some times where I don't feel like want to narrate, anything anymore. If you're going to write, that's the thing. Now, however, if you want to use music for your, narrations, use some music that is free that you can use as long as you give them credit. Like, for example, Mew and other and other places. Mew says that you can use his music as long as you credit him. So like non-copyright music is the best way to go. Mew is actually the best one to use, and I've used his music for some of my creepypastas, most of them, and they're actually pretty good. Like, I'm gonna be really honest that they're really good music, and I highly recommend you check Mew out. He's amazing, and he does a lot of great stuff. Now, if you're gonna use music, try to make sure your music is not too loud, because if the other people can't hear your voice, they're gonna be like, okay, can we not hear your voice? I know sometimes people have comments in my videos saying your music is a little too loud, I can barely hear you. Now, as for that, once I get my new laptop, I am going to be, finding a way to turn the volume down when I narrate my own stories. So then that way you guys can hear me a lot better and you guys can still hear the music. So, if you're going to use music, don't just slap it on there and put your narration on there. And then because if you do that, your fans can barely hear you. And what you should do is use the right video editing software program and make the video. But when you're making the video, make sure turn down the volume of the music on which one's right for you, and then go from there. That's if you want to add music to your narrations. Like that's totally your opinion. Now, when it comes to narrating your own stories, be honest with what you're doing. Put as much time and effort as you can when you're narrating a story. Would it be your story or your fan stories or whatever stories you seem to find. However, though, if a story is anonymous, on Goshia or any other sites, leave it as by anonymous. And then, just let them know, that, if you're the author of the story, please let me know in the comments below. Kind of say that. So then that way they can, calmly explain, okay, I wrote this story. You can be sure can you credit me? Kind of do that. Now that's the things you should do as a horror narrator or whatever narrators. Horror narrators like Mr. Haunted, he has put down, hard time and effort. You got to put effort when it comes to making your videos. If you're going to do horror stories, creepypastas, whatever, put some time and effort into your stories. And what you should do is there's a few things. What you shouldn't do as a narrator is try not to stutter too much. I know sometimes people have problems stuttering, like I have stuttered a couple times, and I usually try to avoid stuttering as much as I can. Because if I'm stuttering, too much, it just doesn't look right. And, I'm being honest. If you're going to be stuttering, it's okay if you have, autism and that, because, with my autism, I do tend to stutter from time to time. And, sometimes I forget what to say. That's understandable. That I can definitely agree. But what you should do is do the things that you're doing. Do the stories that you love. What genres you like. Go for what you love when it comes to narrating these stories. And maybe in the future, you'll be just as good as the Shadow Reader, Skyrunner, myself, and lots of other big YouTubers out there. Now, anyways, what did you all think of this? Did you agree with me? Do you not? Also, leave me now in the comments below on whatever stuff you would like to see. Now, with that said, I'm the Shadow Linus. Thank you so much for watching today's episode, and if you're brand new here to this channel, be sure you like, comment, subscribe, because I make brand new videos every single day. Don't forget to ring the notification bell for uploads, so you will not miss an upload. And like always, I will be seeing you all in the next video. Peace out.